Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week, the creative minds behind Key and Peele go gangster to get their cat back in Keanu. Patrick Stewart goes psycho in Green Room. Video game characters Ratchet and Clank go for a big screen bid. And A-listers go ensemble in Mother's Day. First up, we're going to do Keanu. This is from Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, the sketch comedy legends at this point. They go for broke here in their first feature film, rescuing a cute little kitten and force their completely unhip characters to go street as they go up against drug lords and gangsters, played by the likes of Method Man, to get their cat, little Keanu, back. Now, I thought this was a pretty funny movie. I think it had moments. It also did not have moments. I think some gags went on way too long. But generally, I think they got more steam out of this basic plot than they could have, or maybe should have.
Probably.
But, I think these guys are very clever. They started on Mad TV, and then obviously they have their own show now. I'm a fan of a lot of their sketches. I think their, characters are funny, their impressions are funny, and they actually do play dual roles here as well. They play the gangsters in the first scene of the movie, that the original owners of Keanu. But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was good, not great, but I definitely laughed. What do you guys think?
I honestly don't think I have too much to add to that, Dan, thinking about it. I guess
it's not like the most groundbreaking comedy out there.
No,
but
it wasn't horrible.
It works.
Yeah, it was fine.
I think that really the main reason it's so funny is because these guys are so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have a lot of energy. They have a lot of chemistry with each other, obviously. And there is some smart stuff there, for sure. But for me, it was like the movie kind of became less about its plot and just more about these string of gags.
Mm-hmm.
And just began to feel more like sketches. And I will admit that along the way, I honestly forgot about the whole point behind it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I think it got a little bit off the track there. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty funny. Just kind of strung together very lightly.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, strung together is probably a good choice word, Joe. I thought the tone of this movie was really weird at points because we kind of have this obviously race to get the cat backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have kind of over-the-top action comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have sort of low-down gangster comedy. But honestly, when it was funny, I actually got some really big laughs out of it. One of the funniest scenes all year is in this movie for me. But you're right to some extent. Some of it definitely doesn't work. I thought the one George Michael tripping bit just did not work whatsoever.
Well, I think that is probably the main one that goes on a little too long. Mm-hmm. That whole scene, because at the same time that they're doing the George Michael bit, the other one is in their own kind of drug thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to give too much away because
there's
a very funny
obviously.
cameo in it, but I thought that scene could have probably been trimmed by a few minutes, and it wouldn't have really lost anything.
No, I would agree. But, I mean, you're definitely right. The bread and butter of this is just the overall chemistry between Key and Peele. They know their strengths, they play to them, and for the most part, it works. And little kitten is adorable, so, I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, I mean, I think it says something about these two guys as a team, that they both came from Mad TV, and then after Mad TV got canceled, started their own show. I mean, obviously, these guys are buddies. They go back, maybe even before Mad TV. I don't know if they were in improv, together at Upright or whatever, but they obviously have played off each other for a long time, and, they wrote the screenplay for this, and I think they sort of do know their strengths as a team, as a duo.
But let me ask you something, Dan, because this was one thing that I was noticing while watching it, that from actually our review of American Ultra way back when. So obviously there are a few scenes that are very sort of like borderline sketch gags, and they're more experimental, like let's see if it works and hope for the best. And I was wondering, do you think they were trying to sort of do what you were saying with American Ultra in terms of like try to get like instant cult status?
I could see it getting a cult following.
Well, I mean, I personally, I don't know, other than American Ultra, which I don't know what they were doing, but I don't think any movie specifically like tries to get cult status, because that typically means failure at the box office and then people find it later.
That's true.
Ultra just sort of seemed to be going for that because
it's edgy.
They were trying too hard, which obviously doesn't work. I mean, the thing about Key and Peele is they already sort of have their own. I wouldn't necessarily call it a cult fan base, but they certainly have their own fan base already.
Might be
Definitely.
like a UHF sort of thing.
That is a cult movie.
You know, there you go.
Weird
But
Al UHF.
It's
Yeah,
established though,
that's
but
true.
people
That's
liked it
definitely true.
because of that. You know?
True, but I mean, it's not like Al was a movie or TV star at the time. I mean, he was a comedy star.
True, but
you
he's
could say
pretty well known.
He was, and is. No, I don't know. I mean, I can see this movie gaining cult status, but I don't think. I think they made it with the thought of, well, our show's wrapped up. Let's give our fans something because they're not seeing us every week anymore.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
No, I guess that makes sense. Now, there were a few scenes I kept wondering that about, such as like these over-the-top moments, strange choices for editing in terms of gags. Once again, don't want to give away spoilers, but I mean, still made me laugh, even though I think at some points, particularly when they try to bring the story back, it doesn't always work.
I do agree that there were probably times in this movie I forgot they were trying to get the cat back.
They go so far off, you know.
Yeah, it definitely goes off message. I could agree with that.
And then we get the ending that fits to varying degrees, but it's not quite there.
Well, the ending's completely like
Left field.
yeah, it's pretty out there. But I do have to say, I like that there were proper consequences for everything
Yes.
that happened in the movie.
True.
No,
You know that's a big sticking point for me with these broad comedies. That at least, it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense in the conclusion.
Yeah, I thought it worked out okay.
Yeah, so... all right, well, I give Keanu a B-. Justin?
I'm right with you. B-.
Liked it a little more than that. B.
Okay. Well, Joe, we're going to stick with you and talk about Green Room.
Well, that's fitting because no, actually, no, it's not.
It's very fitting. Patrick Stewart.
Well, it's fitting because it's Patrick Stewart, but I was thinking about it, and there really isn't a very green room in the movie, which irritated me a whole lot. Maybe there was like an element of green underneath, spoilers, but like I want like when they say green room, I want like a green screen
Yeah.
room,
Alright.
and that's
Well,
and so
False advertising.
To be fair...
how about bad room? How about death room?
Well,
How about Patrick Stewart
Death room would be appropriate, but green room is the common term for a backstage area that
Look.
people wait.
Look,
Okay.
And so in that,
makes sense.
you're on the Daily Show, you're on Conan, you're on Fallon. Oh, you're waiting in the green room. It's not usually painted green or
It should
anything.
be.
It's just what
I like my whole
maybe back in
like,
the day it was like with Carson or something, and that's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
that
got
comes
the
from-
name.
I
I don't know.
I just kept thinking I would like I was thinking we need a little more green. For
I
some
didn't
reason,
think about it too
the-
much because
the-
the name made sense to me.
maybe it does, but I just think of the.
I mean, to be fair, the marketing was playing up the whole green motif, but
yeah, I mean the
that too.
poster's very green.
So I was thinking, where's the green? And there's no.
Not quite
Anyway, well, The Green Room is a horror thriller that stars Anton Yelchin, who you guys might remember from Star Trek. He's the new Chekhov, and he's also been in quite a few other movies. And of course, Patrick Stewart plays the main villain. You guys know him. Now, the plot follows this punk band who is kind of traveling around, and they ultimately find themselves at the mercy of this group of neo-Nazi skinheads after they witness a murder at their club, which is in the forests of Oregon. Now, I have to say that I've really been liking some of these independent horror and thriller films that we've been getting lately. This film certainly has a slow build-up, which establishes the lifestyle and the bleak atmosphere that we're heading into. Now, it is providing a fairly minimalistic formula, but the movie does a great, and I'd say an excellent job of creating this sense of terror. These racist fanatics are more frightening than most monsters that you'd find in fantasy horror.
Because they're real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I will warn that there are some very violent and disturbing scenes which truly seem realistic despite their extreme nature. And you guys might agree. I think Anton Yelchin does a really good job in the lead role, and I'm hoping he gets more in the future. I want to see him blossom a bit more.
I mean, he hasn't really gone away. He's been in a lot of indies.
Yeah, exactly, but I feel like he doesn't get enough acknowledgement. And of course, Patrick Stewart's villain isn't over the top and obviously evil, but his frightening nature is subtle and is derived from his politeness and cool demeanor. Unfortunately, the ending does go for a more campy direction that could have been led up to better, I think. And this is a byproduct of the movie's only major flaw for me, in that we could have gotten to know our characters a bit better. They aren't presented as particularly likable, and we only care about them because they aren't terrible people in comparison to everybody else. A few more scenes of dialogue would have been useful in that sense. So what do you guys think?
I agree that we don't really know much about them. That didn't really bother me, though. I just sort of feel like, well, they're in a band and they're traveling. I think just on the basis, we don't know if they're great people or not. I guess you're right about that.
I don't think they're bad people. I'm just saying that based upon what we see,
they seem all right.
They're pretentious snobs, I think. They're skinny little guys.
Baby, to be in this band.
Baby faces.
Like not a baby like that, like a whiner, like a
wimp.
A wimp.
Yes, because all musicians are big, tough guys.
If you're going to be in a punk rock band playing a skinhead club, I'm going to say go for it.
To be fair, it wasn't.
I'm going to say Johnny Rotten,
but remember, it wasn't something that they were planning to do. It was kind of like
no, but they're still punk rockers where fights break out in their venues all the time.
They're in a punk rock band, and they're in an underground punk rock band, not like a Green Day
All right. Well, to be fair, that is a point that they kind of go at with. There's the whole hidden, what band is your Desert Island band? And they kind of hint about it. And once again, they lead up to it like it's this thing. And,
I mean, that was a cute device, I guess, throughout the movie.
It's a good word for it. Cute.
Yeah, cute. Huh. I didn't go to Green Room to see cute.
Which is one of my problems.
But I think it also gives that bit, yes, it's goofy, but it also tells us a lot about the characters. Unfortunately, I can't go too much further with that for the sake of spoilers. But
I think it wants to tell us a lot about the characters. I don't think it actually does.
Well, there's only so much you can tell about a person based on one band they like.
True.
You might be able to tell something about them.
More about what kind of image they're trying to convey. And that's really all I can say about that without going too far.
Fair enough.
The director of this one also did a movie we reviewed, I think, back in season 1, Blue Ruin, which I believe we all liked.
I like Blue Ruin.
Yeah. And that one was definitely much more about the characters and about the build-up. Definitely a slow burn as well.
Also color-themed.
True.
Themed. Indeed, Joe.
True.
Indeed. Green Room is much more, I would argue, more about atmosphere. Yes, the characters are important, but they're not the star of the show. What is the star of the show is the situation.
Yeah, that's why it didn't bother me that I didn't know that much about them.
And obviously, we learn about these characters through that situation. I confess, not nearly enough, and I think as a horror film, it doesn't quite work. Psychological thriller, indefinitely. But
I thought it was pretty scary.
I mean, suspenseful, without question. But scary, not quite.
I think it works better as a horror movie than some of the recent
actual horror
thriller and horror. I thought it worked better as a horror movie than
The Forest. I mean, come on.
Well, I was gonna think of something not god awful, but like The Visit or something like that.
That's true.
I mean, I think this is more along the lines of Joe. You mentioned a lot of the recent thrillers that have been good. It Follows certainly fits into that category. The Guest. These are, I think, movies that straddled the line. Mm-hmm. And I think those two genres are so close that you don't really need to pick one or the other necessarily.
What tips the scales? It's often hard to say. But
I mean, it's not like you're doing a
Well, like I said, if there had just been a twist that these guys were all undead vampires, then boom.
Clearly,
and just keep everything else the same. I mean, really,
true, I guess.
Seriously, it's
neo-Nazi vampires. All right, but no,
I'm pretty sure it's a thing.
But Stewart is phenomenal. I actually really liked Imogen Poots in this.
Yeah, she was good.
Who has really not done anything for me in past movies. She's funny that way. Not a great movie, but she does an okay job in it. But this was really like, oh, okay, you can actually be a legitimate actress. And I think we learned more about her character than anyone else in the entire movie. I think the makeup for this movie was absolutely phenomenal. Like the way they put together the injuries was cringe-inducingly effective.
Yeah, some good makeup and effects, absolutely.
Some of the best I've ever seen in just mainstream or indie, for that matter.
Yeah.
Really, really good stuff. The ending, I'm definitely torn on. I like what they were trying to do, very punk rock-esque, but I can definitely see people being very divisive towards it.
Why do we have to classify it as either?
If you go by when they're marketing it as a horror film, I think you have to treat it
as Justin, to be fair, it is considered a horror thriller. So
I said, I think the two genres are very close together. I don't think it's as disparate as say a historical
action
comedy. I don't know.
I remember some of the combinations, like for some
thriller and horror are very close together.
It's a sci-fi, fantasy, action, comedy, thriller. I mean,
and I think we can agree that a lot of the classic movies are like Alien.
Yeah.
No. I can see it, but I look at this sort of the same way. Cavalry is credited as a dark comedy. It's not funny, but it's a really good drama.
But the reason I don't like to do that is because you're talking about two different things. The filmmaker's vision and the marketing team completely separate.
True.
So who's to say what
the goal was.
Yeah, I mean, if the marketing team wants to plug it as that because they think it'll get butts and seats, that's their business, I guess.
Yeah.
But, to me, I take the movie for what it is, not, by the marketing. I mean, it's the reason I typically don't watch trailers.
I'm not saying it in that regard. I'm saying the overall pitch of this movie was a horror movie, and I didn't find it particularly scary.
The pitch by who, though, is my question.
The pitch by the filmmakers, the pitch by the distribution company. You don't view Bridesmaids as a drama, so I mean.
No, but that's pretty obviously not a drama.
I think to use a really big example.
And I don't consider Green Room a horror film.
I understand that, but
Psycho, horror movie, thriller, it's both. There you go.
I think most.
I'm saying you can mix the genres. I'm just saying if you're going to do that, you have to commit to both. And if Green Room wants to be a horror thriller, it needs to pull that off. And I don't personally think it did.
I think it was very scary and very thrilling. I thought if you're going to nitpick the two genres, I think it worked as both. I'm just saying I don't necessarily think it matters. I think the movie stands on its own as effective as what it is.
Creating tension.
Yeah.
Oh, the tension's definitely there. It's just I didn't find it particularly scary.
All right. Well, I give it an A-.
And I'm actually right with you. If it wasn't for that genre component, it might have been an A.
B+.
Really? Lowest?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you had a problem with not knowing the characters more than we did.
Yeah, and hey, I thought you guys... atmosphere usually doesn't get you guys over, but I guess this time it did.
Depends on how it's set up.
I thought it was, like I said, very effective in most aspects. My least favorite component was that I didn't buy Yelchin as a punk rocker.
Interesting that we all have our criticisms in their very different categories.
Well,
Actually, that didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, you like that part.
I've known plenty of
I was
musicians
actually okay with the whole
guys.
them being musicians. It was just
for an underground punk band, I think there is a certain mold, and he didn't fit it at all. I think the performance was okay, but other than that. All right, well, let's hear about Ratchet and Clank, Justin.
When the galaxy comes under threat by the evil Chairman Drek, voiced by Paul Giamatti, Ratchet, being reprised by the voice actor from the video game series, James Arnold Taylor, considers this his opportunity to fight alongside his heroes. Though despite his almost immediate rejection by Captain Quark, also voiced by the video game voice actor Jim Ward,
that was fun.
Ratchet manages to make a public impression as a hero with help from a robotic misfit named Clank. Also reprising the role by David Kaye, as Drek's nefarious scheme deepens. John Goodman, Sylvester Stallone, and Rosario Dawson also voice supporting roles. Gentlemen, I was really, really hoping before this came out, we were finally going to get the first pretty much legitimate video game movie. Now, I'm not going to say this is as bad as the I don't know, below 30% now on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's definitely has some noticeable flaws. The first one I noticed is the games, while I was never a big fan, I was often in high school as well as somewhat in college immersed with a lot of people who loved Ratchet and Clank. And one of the things that really worked with the series was it had a playful sense of wit to it. Think a quirkier version of Animaniacs with more storyline. This takes that motif and basically dumbs it down. You can definitely tell this storyline was crafted for a video game instead of a movie, and the storyline of the movie with a roughly 90-minute running time plays out as such. You can tell where all the little action cutscenes would be, where all the platforming moments would end up. I do like the fact that they got a lot of the original cast back, which was really cool. But the problem is the new additions to try and get some brand association with Paul Giamatti, Sylvester Stallone, Rosario Dawson, I can go on and on. They stick out like sore thumbs, and you can clearly tell they were thrown in just so someone can say, I know that person. And it just doesn't gel. What I honestly did, though, that kept this a little bit above the water, though, was the visual component is actually really cool. I thought it was really fun to look at. I was invested. The action's pretty solid. It just doesn't come together as nicely as it should have. But where do you guys stand on it?
But I don't know anything about Ratchet and Clank. I never even heard of them until 4 months ago.
Wow.
When this movie started previewing. But For me, I'm, I guess, too old for the series, but I think for the target demo that they're going for, really is not even people that played the games. I think that they're going for young kids.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, the most recent of these games was years ago.
That's true.
So, I mean, I think it is cool. I didn't know that the, original people were back for the voices. That's awesome. But I didn't have a problem at all with the famous voices. John Goodman's always fine to hear.
He's fine.
I mean, pretty much any animated movie now has famous actors in it, so I don't know why that specifically would be a sticking point. I mean, but I just think the movie's very basic.
It is.
I don't play the game, so the storyline compared to one of the games means nothing to me, but just as a storyline in a film, it's just, I mean, the most basic thing you can get. I laughed a few times. I thought the animation was cute. Better, actually, than I thought from the previews. It looked like it was going to be like Hoodwinked or something. But it was a little better than that. The 3D was non-existent. I mean, I had my glasses off probably half the movie and nothing was even blurry, so...
Speaks volumes.
Yeah. Wow. Some of the worst 3D. Joe, how did it grab you?
Well, I saw it in glorious 2D.
Oh, okay. I think I did too, actually.
How about that? I thought the animation was actually pretty good. I was surprised. It looked like,
For not being like DreamWorks or Pixar,
No, I mean, it looked like, from what I understand, the video cutscenes would pretty much look like, which is fine. The movie's one big cutscene. And I agree, Dan's right, though. The plot is very basic. I don't know too much about these games. Like, once again, knew a lot of people that played them, but never did myself. I thought that the voice acting was decent. I thought some of the humor worked. Like, some of the, self-aware computers, like, get out now before we explode. I'm telling you to get out. Like, stuff like that was funny. Some of the satire was all right. I mean, I thought Clank was my favorite character. I loved Clank.
Clank's great.
I liked Clank,
So I was like, and he really elevated the movie for me. So I can't say that I wasn't uninvested. I thought it was fairly enjoyable for, kids' entertainment. But I do agree, who is the market? When was the last game? Like 2009 or something?
Well, yeah, wasn't it like 6-7 years ago?
Yeah.
So yeah,
from what I read, yeah.
So that's the weird thing about it. Like, it's a bit too late. But
yeah, I think the people that played the games, I think, are probably too old to care about seeing it. And probably. I think the little kids, why wouldn't they just rather see Zootopia or Jungle Book?
Exactly.
To be honest.
It's a good point.
It's kind of awkward timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'd say I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Oh, yeah.
I would say it was better than I was expecting. It was fine.
It's all right. It worked.
For kids' entertainment, it did its job, I guess. We've certainly seen worse.
Oh,
far worse.
Unquestionably.
And most of them are from the non-Disney and non-Pixar canon.
Yeah.
Blue Sky
DreamWorks. Yeah, I mean, whoever made Freebirds and, like I said, Hoodwinked.
What was that one?
Some of the other terrible
George
ones.
Lucas fairy movie?
Strange Magic. You had Legends of Oz. We've seen a lot of F&D material. This was not one.
Not even close.
I give it a C.
C+ for me.
I'm a C as well.
Okay. Well, finally we have Mother's Day, and this film comes in the tradition of Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, both directed by Gary Marshall, as this one is. Mother's Day sees an enormous list of A-listers whose stories end up somewhat converging on the holiday in question. This one features Julia Roberts, Jennifer Aniston, Jason Sudeikis, Kate Hudson, Timothy Olyphant, and Britt Robertson. Now, the best of these, I would say, is Valentine's Day. I thought that movie was all right. But the pedigree is the same for all of these. You throw a bunch of actors together. Sometimes their plots converge. Sometimes they really don't. And usually there's one or two people at the center. In this one, you've got Julia Roberts pretty much at the center. She plays this QVC type woman who's selling these Mother's Day, what is it, a bracelet?
Dan,
locket.
I can't even remember. A locket.
The stone thing,
yeah.
She's at the center. I felt like she was barely in the movie.
Well, but she's the only one that kind of intersects with everybody because of this bracelet that she sells. God. Or the necklace, I mean.
I guess.
But you're right. I mean, Aniston is probably in the most of the scenes.
Yeah.
Hudson.
And then Hudson secondary with, Sarah Chalke from Scrubs as her sister. But it just, none of it really gels that well. The humor is, really bad. I laughed a couple of times legitimately, and then I laughed probably a lot more in a like, oh my god, this is on a screen. Like,
Yep.
you know,
Those
the one I saw it
comments.
with Joe, and the one that I loved was Sudeikis is watching a video of his his
Garner.
deceased wife, with a cameo there with Jennifer Garner, singing karaoke, and his daughter comes in the room and says, "Oh, Dad, Mom used to love karaoke. Remember?"
No.
And we were both just like, "Remember?" He's literally watching it right now. Like,
Seriously.
I think he knows.
You'd think,
Like,
well, maybe his memory's really bad, or his
just-
vision, or
Just
something.
the script is awful, and I hate seeing Gary Marshall, who was, a television visionary. He created Happy Days. He created Mork and Mindy. This guy has a great pedigree from 35, 40 years ago. These movies that he does now are all terrible, and not in the holiday canon, but he's done Georgia Rule, and there's another real bad one nearby to that when I was looking him up. But yeah, definitely not good. Justin, what'd you think?
You sure you want to go to?
I mean, I know what Joe thinks because I saw it with him, so I'm more curious about what you think. And you're the notorious Mr. F on the show, so
Mr. F. It's a good nickname.
Insert Arrested Development joke here, but no.
Justin, you're known on the streets as Mr. F.
Mr. F.
No.
Yep.
He will fail you.
Very well. No. Getting horribly off topic. When did I realize that this movie was going to be a complete disaster? Was it the scene where they play off racial discrimination for laughs?
Ooh.
Was it around the 2/3 mark where I got distracted with a 30-minute conversation with a colleague and was able to still keep up with the plot? Or C, was it the horrible, awful Meghan Trainor song that bookends the film? Yep.
That's what did it for you?
Remember the endings?
God,
Those
that was
songs.
the least... oh my god. That was like the least problematic part of this movie.
No. Not enough to realize, not enough to make it, just enough to give me an idea of, I knew this was going to be bad, but I didn't realize it was going to be that bad. This movie is a nightmare from start to finish.
A nightmare.
Racist, horrible.
The movie itself isn't racist. There are two characters in the movie that are racist.
Hey.
That doesn't make the movie racist
Just-
if they're poking fun at the racist characters.
In defense of that part.
God, why am I defending Mother's Day?
No, wait,
oh, Justin.
No. But in that, to be fair, just
Please don't defend the racist movie.
You're making me. It's not a racist movie.
to be devil's advocate, remember, they do acknowledge it and use it for character development.
They do, and then they kind of don't. Particularly in one instance where literally the racist character is having a conversation with a character of an ethnic background, and literally their sole response makes racist epithet, and the said person she's talking to is like, "That's totally racist." Ha 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 ha. Does Gary Marshall not know how to write dialogue? Just no. And the fact that every single romantic subplot has virtually no chemistry, it was just literally
First
a
of all,
10-year-old could write this movie.
Timothy Oliphant has chemistry with everyone. He is the most charming person. He has chemistry with Aniston. He has chemistry with the other girl. Oliphant's fine.
I would say it's justified.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, wait. That was horrible, Joe. But anyways,
I thought it was.
no, I mean,
We got some good laughs out of it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
like Sabotage
I mean,
enjoyable,
I
but
can't
no.
say
Well, like-
all of... Listen, I think there were about 2, maybe 3 legitimate laughs in this
I do
movie.
think there. I can't remember them, but I know that there were some things I thought.
One of
were
them was with
funny.
the kid, I think.
There might have been a kid
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, a kid was funny.
Humpty Dance was alright.
When he started dancing after Sudeikis almost
That was
died.
good.
That was decent.
Yeah.
Death's funny. Yeah, sure.
See?
How Beth. I agree with pretty much all you guys said. Most of the jokes don't work. There isn't really much of a connection. Most of the actors are just kind of there. I mean, some of them do okay, but there's not much of a story. But I forgot a lot of unintentional laughs, so it's a bit of a guilty pleasure for
True.
me. I could watch it again.
Well, okay, I never want to watch it again.
I was going to say this is
Maybe
a criminal
with,
I
temperament.
can't
with,
say that,
with
but-
alcoholic assistance, I'd watch it again. How about that?
Well, the Mother's Day drinking game is the easiest drinking game of all time.
Well, you'll forget what day
because
it is.
anytime you say Mother's Day, you take a drink.
They say it
You'll be
about
bombed by about 10
5,000
minutes
I was
in.
going to say.
Don't
You
forget
know.
Mother's Day. I won't.
How could
And that
you?
actually brings up problem number 55. Mother's Day is just not that big an event, and they blow it up like it's like it's New Year's Eve.
I did say that to someone, that I don't recall the last time that I had a real, other than like my family members maybe saying, hey, what are we doing for Mother's Day? I don't remember it being a huge ordeal, like up and down the
Christmas.
lane, everyone's saying about Mother's Day. That is true.
So are we going to get a Father's Day? Is there one?
Father's Day, they already did with Billy Crystal and, was it Robin Williams, Justin?
Seriously?
All right, obviously I'm speaking.
I don't actually know this.
You don't
one,
know, so never mind. I'm pretty confident. It had nothing to do with this. It wasn't like a Gary Marshall,
Okay.
Everything Converges movie, but there was a movie called Father's Day with two heavy hitters.
Just
So.
a bunch of guys, don't forget Father's Day.
Yeah.
Beat each other up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve are certainly more
justifiable in that
high-profile.
camp, but
Okay, enough with the Timothy Oliphant justified bits.
sorry. Actually forgot.
well, I mean, I could have said he was, he had a lot of hits, man.
Yeah.
He did.
No.
Well, listen, I mean, if you watch this movie, you'd see Jennifer Aniston has a lot of friends. I
No.
mean, we
too
could go
many
all
TV
day.
friends.
All right. Anyway, I can't fail this movie. It was all right. No, it wasn't all right. It was bad, but it was an enjoyable bad. It's a D. Obviously, I know.
I was going to say,
know
do
it's
we
an F,
have to
Justin.
ask?
No, we don't anymore.
No, we could just skip.
I mean,
it's Mr. F.
Mr.
F.
Joe, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was a great time. It was a D+ for me.
Oh wow! All right, that's a little higher. I can go.
Devil's
but-
advocate, gentlemen.
Yeah, always good to end on a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, clearly.
Definitely.
All right, well that will do it for the show this week. We've got a bunch of minisodes up, so definitely check those out. And May is Jodie Foster month. We've got Money Monster, which we'll be reviewing in a couple weeks, and that is her directing. So we're doing Jodie Foster films. So if you have one for our listener's choice, that would be great to hear from you. If you have not subscribed yet to our channel, go ahead and do that. We've got the Facebook group as well, Film Fanatics with an exclamation point, and the Twitter feed at Film Fanatics Pod. That will do it for the show. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.